How's it going, guys? Kind of a crummy, rainy day today, so I'm making a video indoors. And just recently, I have really gotten into air guns for the first time since I was a kid. I had a lot of air guns as a kid, pellet guns, BB guns, all kinds of stuff. But by the time I was 18 and started buying firearms and shooting them all the time, I really never looked back at the air guns until relatively recently. I'd like to have something that's a quiet little plinker that I can go out in the yard with and shoot some cans. And so anyways, I actually have some of them. I've been kind of dusting off the old air guns out of the closet and taking a look at them, and got all kinds of goodies coming in the mail. I had to get some pellets and some CO2 cartridges. I've got a big custom project. Well, not a big custom project, but kind of a customization project coming up with this air pistol here, which is pretty neat. This is a Crosman 2240 CO2 air pistol, single shot, 22 caliber. Got this when I was a kid in Walmart, I believe, years ago. And I was, like I said, I was looking at air guns recently. Just happened to come across some stuff on the internet about them, and ended up going down the rabbit hole and saw a lot of stuff about these pistols and all the really neat custom stuff and tuning and modifications you can do to them. And I looked at it and I thought, hey, I think I've got one of those. So I went and dug around in my old junk, and there it was, the old 2240. Really neat gun, really accurate. I've got, like I said, pellets and CO2 and some custom pieces coming in the mail for this, so there definitely will be a shooting video when that gets here. And I'll show you some of my other air pistoles I've got here too. This is a Crosman Model 357, also CO2, 177 caliber. It's a revolver, and as you can see, it's not quite all there. This was a really good gun, pretty accurate. I shot it a lot for years, and then one day I decided to take it apart to see how it worked, and I never got it back together again. But I did save all of the parts in a Ziploc bag, so I'm going to try and get this one back together again and shooting again. It's actually it's made to look like a Colt Python. But as you can see, the cylinder mostly is actually just a dummy thing there built into the frame. It doesn't move, and it's actually a brake barrel design and uses these rotary things. And it also came with this is a 10-shot one. It came with a black 6-shot one that blended in better with the cylinder flutes on it and everything, but I lost that one, I think. So there's a future project. Hopefully I can get it going again. And another revolver. This one's a Gamo R77. I don't know if this one is a copy of a particular actual firearm, but this one is interesting because it actually has a swing out cylinder. It's an 8-shot, 177 caliber. The grip cover, excuse me, the grip cover that covers where the CO2 cartridge goes comes off pretty easy, so it tends to fall off all the time. But it's a neat gun, but actually not as accurate as that Crosman one that's in pieces. This one is double action only, and the trigger pull is not terrible, but could be better. There's no single action. In fact, if you try to cock the hammer, it locks up the works, and I don't know if that's an intentional safety feature or if that's just a bug. But no single action, unfortunately. It'd be a lot more accurate and more fun to shoot, in my opinion, if it would shoot in single action. And another Crosman. This is the 10008 repeater, and this is made to kind of look like a Smith & Wesson semi-automatic. Model 39 is popping into my head at the moment, but I don't know if that's accurate or not, so take that with a grain of salt. But anyways, this one is technically is also a revolver. Pops open and it uses these little wheels. 10 shot, I think. Nope, 8 shot. CO2 goes in the grip. And this one is also double action only. There's no cock in it. Probably shot this one the least out of all of these pistols. Never shot this one much for some reason. I gotta get out there with it and give it another try. But this one, in my opinion, is the coolest one out of the bunch. The old 2240. There's a lot you can do with these. They're actually, for a CO2 air pistol, they're quite powerful. I want to say like 450 feet per second or something like that, which maybe is with lightweight alloy pellets or something, but you can get a lot of power out of these, and you can pretty easily modify them to get more. And I mentioned I've got parts coming. I have a shoulder stock and a longer 14-inch barrel to put on this to turn it into a little carbine, which should make it a really neat little plinker. You see the sights on there are pretty simple but effective, and you can flip this thing over and use it as a peep sight. And the peep sight really doesn't work well at all on it as a pistol because the it's too far from the eye, and even if you hold it close to your eye or try to, you can't really do it steadily enough because that's a weird position. But with the shoulder stock, should be a pretty good shooter, and a longer barrel will provide probably another 70 feet per second of velocity and make somewhat more efficient use of the CO2. They do kind of waste gas somewhat in the stock configuration. They're pretty loud for an air gun, although I actually liked that when I was a kid, but it blasts a lot of CO2 out of there when you shoot it, so a longer barrel makes sense. Crosman actually makes a whole line of guns pretty similar to this. There's this one, there's the 1322, which is a multi-pump pneumatic version of this, which has a longer barrel, actually a bit more powerful, I think. Pretty neat little close range hunting air gun. And they used to make a model called the 2250, which is CO2 like this one, but with a shoulder stock and a longer barrel. But they discontinued that for some reason, but you can get pretty much the same thing by customizing one of these, or you can get one from the Crosman Custom Shop as a custom 2240. And they still make a model 2260, which is the same action and all, but a full-length rifle with a, I think it's a 24-inch barrel and a wood stock, which in the UK is known as the rabbit stopper. So apparently they're effective enough for hunting. Another modification I'd would kind of like to do with this is you can put a power adjuster in the end of here, which controls the amount of tension on the hammer spring. The hammer whacks a little valve in there and lets out a blast of CO2. So if you put more tension on it, it increases the power somewhat, or you can turn it down and get more shots per CO2 cartridge. And maybe some people would think it's kind of lame, but I actually would like to put one on this so I can turn it down and have a really efficient, quiet little plinker. And the other neat thing about the Crosman 22 series of guns, 2250, 2240, 2260, and also the 1322 pneumatic, to some extent, is a lot of the customized parts that you get for it are interchangeable. You can, various barrel lengths. You can get a steel breech. This area here, this is actually, I think the only plastic on it is this breech area. You can get a steel breech which has a rail on it for some kind of optics, red dot or whatever, and various modifications you can do, and the parts are all interchangeable between most of those guns as long as the caliber is the same. So that's pretty neat. I have not shot this gun in more than 10 years, and these other ones more than 15 years. I probably should have picked up a reseal kit for this too, but we'll try it out, and I bet it'll still shoot good.